What's up, guys? Welcome to a special Bitcoin all-time high edition of the Crypto Rundown. The election has been settled. It could not have gone more pro-crypto. You were in the right place. You know we had to bring Brendan to see what's going on. Brendan, what are you seeing in the crypto markets?
Yeah, that's right, Tevo. We have a new all-time high for Bitcoin. Bitcoin has officially hit $75,400. And the cool part here is that this is bringing us into Moonvember. Now, we call November this because it is historically the best performing month for Bitcoin. We dive into that. We take a look at the charts. Altcoins are soaring. And another cool thing that we get to take a look at here is Bitcoin's past performance during other election cycles. And spoiler alert, it's really freaking bullish. And the best part about all this, Tevo, is that Gary Gensler is leaving the SEC.
He's out. Fire Gary Gensler day one is officially in effect. Guys, we're breaking down all the crypto stuff that you need to know now that the election is over. We give you the price actions. We give you the outlooks. It is bullish. Spoiler alert. Guys, I want you to like, subscribe, and comment. The timestamps are below so you can watch what you want to watch when you want to watch it. Thanks for listening and enjoy the episode.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Crypto Market Rundown, where we talk about everything that's happening in the great world of cryptocurrency. From the fundamentals in the news to the technicals on the charts, we spend the time doing hours of research so that you all don't have to. And man, what a monumental episode we have in store today. Bitcoin has broken out to new all-time highs above $75,000. Altcoins are soaring. Gary Gensler is leaving the SEC. Regulation is looking bright. And there are so many things going on, Tevo. I'm pretty stoked about it, if you can't tell. I'm sure all the listeners are stoked, and they're tuning in saying, what can I expect over the next year, over the next 4 years of the crypto market? What can I expect to see? And that's exactly what we want to talk about in this episode here today. So, Tevo, are you as excited as I am?
You know I'm as excited as you are. We just we actually waited. Normally we make our rundown sheet the day before for the most part. Sometimes change it, but we knew yesterday we couldn't make it. We had to see what happened, and an absolute landslide victory for President Trump, and the crypto markets are loving it. Whatever your politics are, if you're listening to this show, you're definitely pro-crypto. So you have to be excited with the price action of this result. And obviously, we have to kick it off and say this is not personal financial advice. We're just two guys talking crypto here. But I will say, and I wanted to start with this to tee up our whole episode, we have been in a range for a long time, and it's gotten boring since March, right? And we've talked about how, you know, this range was boring and it was long. But we came and we've been doing these episodes every week, Brendan and I, and I'm really proud of us for doing it because I think even when there wasn't much to talk about, we found a lot to discuss, and we brought a lot of value in different weeks. And so before we begin, I just wanted to give us a round of applause because if you go back to the July 17th episode of this, I remember Bitcoin was around 64, 65K. It was looking very bullish. And then there was the assassination attempt on President Trump. And we're going to play that clip of that episode right now to tee up what we're about to talk about for this episode. So let's listen to this. This is July 17th, 2024. And this is the type of stuff for exactly why you listen to this show every week. And so over the weekend, the facts are the facts. There was an assassination attempt on the former president. And if you kind of go look when news like that breaks, it doesn't really matter who it is. You know, if there's a domestic attack of any kind, you know, the markets kind of get scared, right? And you see a little sell-off. So in that moment, there was a little sell-off. But interesting enough, as soon as the afternoon and evening went on and the rest of the weekend, when it was confirmed that former President Trump was going to be okay, he got clipped in the ear, which that whole story was wild in general. But as soon as it was shown that he was going to be okay, the markets started to rally. And then if you look at things like Polymarket or Predicted, Trump has been ahead in the polls basically since the debate. It's been pretty solidified. And then this event the predicted markets he's running away with it in the predicted markets. Basically, it looks like the markets kind of gave you a playbook, like a small sample size over the weekend. Yeah, I think the markets are trying to tell you something, that this might be the playbook if in fact Donald Trump can, over the next 100 days, keep this lead in the polls and the predicted markets and actually win. That might be the playbook, that Bitcoin's on the ballot in a positive way for the first time ever. There it was, July 17th. And since then, you've been in a range and you've had plenty of dips to continue to accumulate Bitcoin and different cryptos. But we really laid it out for you here that was the playbook. If that's something that you're interested in, whether it was polling data, whether it was Polymarket, which took a huge bite of the news flow as we came into September and October. You heard it here first. And as a producer and, gratefully a co-host with you on the show, it's something that I'm really proud of, that, we were lockstep with this story, and we really kept our personal political views aside, and really just tried to cover the news and the story of crypto. And I think we've done a tremendous job to the listeners, and I really appreciate you, and I appreciate everybody who's kind of taking the journey with us every week.
Yeah, man, it's been awesome to watch, and like you said, there's been so many buy the dip opportunities since July. I mean, you look at the Japanese carry trade and what happened there in August. Then at the beginning of September, we had a really nasty pullback yet again. Even in October, there was some smaller pullbacks, which were just continuing to be opportunities. And every one of those have acted as a potential buy the dip zone for not only Bitcoin, but for altcoins. Because as we're recording this, I mean, you said it well, Bitcoin hit this new all-time high of $75,400, which is significantly higher than where we have been consolidating over the last 8 or 9 months here. For the bulk of this year, pretty much all of February up through October, even the beginning part of November, Bitcoin was consolidating in this $20,000 range between $50K on the low end and around $70K on the high end. And we're finally breaking out of that. And this is a huge move forward. And the cool part here is it really looks like we're just getting started. In fact, me and you were talking right before this, Tevo, about Moonvember and the typical price performance that November has for the crypto markets. And I know we got a graphic that we can throw up on the screen for everyone. But November is historically the highest performing month. And we have it up on the screen right now for all of you. But November is the highest performing month in the crypto markets. And so if we look at the average return rate, well, what are the two highest places? Well, number one is November with an average annual return rate or monthly return rate of 42.88%. Second place would be October, which we're coming out of. Again, a really great month. But we're heading into this bullish season for the crypto markets where we're expecting November to be great. We're expecting December to be great. We look at these monthly averages in terms of returns, and they're all positive for the foreseeable future. Now, again, we're going to have bumps in the road. We're going to have some red days. We're going to have some green days. But as we're looking into next year, I think it's really hard to make this bearish argument that crypto shouldn't go higher. I think that new all-time highs are going to be a pretty frequent conversation for us. Again, maybe not every day, maybe not every week, maybe not every month, but I think that the larger uptrend is resuming, and I think that the bulk of the consolidation and what we've seen here is behind us. So what I want to do, real quick before we get into all the news and everything else that's happening, I just briefly want to show everyone what the chart looks like. Because a lot of people are waking up and maybe they're missing this. Maybe they haven't seen what has happened here. And I remember watching this last night as it was happening live, and it was really cool because Bitcoin was just tearing through that previous all-time high. And even now that the election is pretty much over, we're not retracing very heavily. We're not sitting at specifically that all-time high at the moment, but we're not seeing any kind of big rejection candle or anything like that as of yet. And I think that that's telling that, hey, the overall uptrend looks like it is going to be the dominant player moving forward. And again, the bulk of this consolidation is all behind us now. So let's just look at, how the crypto market is performing across the board, because we have Bitcoin up 7.2%, Ethereum up 8.9%, we have Solana up 11.4%, Makers up 15.5%, AVAX is up 9%. You go down here to some of the more lower market cap altcoins like Ondo, which is around 10.5%, Maple, which is up almost 19%. And then you have like the crypto stocks, right? I mean, you have Coinbase, which is up 21.3%. You have MicroStrategy, which is up almost 10%. Marathon, which is up 12%. And, legacy altcoins, which we're going to get into in a little bit. But a lot of these ones that were tied to the SEC, things like Uniswap, for example, which is up almost 30% on the day. And we're going to get into these in a moment. But a lot of these projects and companies that have been tied to the SEC are seeing a lot of really, really positive price action. And I want to bring this back into the main point that I have here, which is that this is all happening while Bitcoin dominance continues to push higher, right? So I think that the crypto market in its true run, especially for altcoins, I don't think it is even fully begun yet. Like, I don't even think it's fully in effect yet. And I think that there's so much more that is going to come over here, because we really don't see crypto enter its euphoric phase until Bitcoin dominance starts falling a little bit. And as of today, it continues to hit new multi-year highs. I mean, the highest levels that we've seen on Bitcoin dominance since, I believe, the start of 2021. And that's what we see on screen here, is that Bitcoin dominance is continuing to push up. And typically, altcoins go through that stereotypical euphoric altcoin season once Bitcoin dominance falls off a cliff, like we saw back over, and I'm going to scroll us back a little bit here, back like we saw over here, where Bitcoin dominance is falling off a cliff and altcoins are going crazy. And it just really does look like we are just getting started. And that's a great sign for all of crypto moving forward. So as we look at the big picture and as we talk about a lot of these things, that is our mindset. We are, again, net bullish about the future of the crypto markets and the financial markets. And I think that there's a lot of things to be just overall excited about, Tevo.
No, 100%. And I think that it's a testament to us, again, just really being here for the last year plus, breaking this stuff down. And I know that our team is really bullish about it. Obviously, me and you here talking about it. But, I think we rarely do this, but, we give a ton of free content. And this show is free. We'll continue to be free. We have another episode on our podcast network where we interview top people in the space every week. That's free. It's going to stay free. YouTube's free. But we do have a community where we do stuff more literally every single day. And so, if you're interested and you think it's time to get more, check the links below. Come join us in the community. I know our team is highly invested in doing all we can to parse the crypto markets every day. I know we just hired a new analyst, a new teammate, our friend Rohit, who will be joining us on the shows in weeks to come, I'm sure, and giving his expertise. So we're growing as a team. We're doubling down. We think this stuff is going higher. And again, never personal financial advice, but just as an industry that is going to be getting, more clear regulation, which I know is our next topic that we're going to start going through. It's hard not to be excited. It's hard not to be bullish.
Yeah, and real quick, before we even dive into regulation and how that's going to impact all these different crypto companies that have been in in legal battles with Gary Gensler and the SEC. Spoiler alert, Gary Gensler is getting the absolute boot, which we'll talk about in just a sec. But when we're looking at how this election can affect the future price of Bitcoin, I think the easiest thing to do is look back at how Bitcoin has reacted during previous election cycles. I'm talking November of 2020, 2016, 2012. How did Bitcoin perform after those elections? And I want to share a graphic with everyone because I think it's really telling that, again, the future is looking bright. And so if we look at this, and I'm going to enlarge it for everyone, but after every single election, Bitcoin continues to press higher, and not just by a little bit, but by quite a significant margin. If we go back to 2012, for example, we saw what happened after that election. The price of crypto soared. That was a Democratic candidate that won, and the price of crypto soared. Well, in 2016, we saw the opposite. We saw a Republican win, and guess what? The price of crypto still soared. Then we saw the opposite happen in 2020, and the price of crypto soared again. So it's saying, hey, regardless of who's in office, one might have better policies than the other, but looking at this, crypto soars after election season, and I think we are preparing ourselves, Tevo, here for what could be like a super cycle. We have already seen the crypto industry pierce through the $2 trillion mark, and now Bitcoin is a top 10 largest asset when we're looking at it in comparison to things like commodity, or when we're looking at it in comparison to gold and silver and some of these large publicly traded companies. But yeah, I mean, look at this chart. In 2016, for example, Bitcoin at the time of the election was $719. After that, Bitcoin ran to $20,000. In November of 2020, November 3rd, 2020, we saw Bitcoin trading at $14,902. Well, Bitcoin then proceeded to go on and run up to $69,000. Now we're looking at the crypto markets as we're sitting right around the 70K mark. And, I'm just curious, where are we going to be a year or two from now? And I don't want to bet against this. Again, the strategy in the 4-year cycle has continued to hold true. It happened in 2012 after the election. It happened in 2016 after the election. It happened in 2020 after the election. And every single time, without exception, Bitcoin hit new all-time highs by pretty significant margins. And I think that we're going to see the same thing around moving forward. Again, I'm not saying that we're going to have this $100,000 Bitcoin by the end of this week or anything like that, but I think people are gradually looking towards a 6 to 7 figure Bitcoin. And, even Van Eck was coming out a week and a half ago or so, Tevo, and they were saying, hey, we think that it's possible for a $3 million Bitcoin price prediction by something like 2050. And that would come out to a 16% annual growth rate, which they labeled as conservative and fair. And I think that we can certainly do better than a 16% annual growth rate. I mean, when you look at the growth rate of this month alone, over the last 10 years or so, it's over 40%. And Bitcoin continues to overperform. So that's my little spiel. That's my little rant. I think that when people are looking at what they can expect in the post-election markets, well, number one, expect more clear, more crypto-friendly regulation. And then number two, I think that we can expect, I think it's safe to say from the charts that we have in front of us, I think we can expect higher prices because that is what we have seen historically.
Yeah, and just to hammer home that point on clear regulation, I have another chart to share. So this is from Fundstrat Insight, as you can see on the screen. And this was prior to the election. They put this out. But it was basically what you're seeing here is the possible outcomes of the election. So, is it going to be a Democratic sweep, a Republican sweep, or split in some facet? And so what they did here is they gave you the combined probability. You'll see that in the middle. And then at the bottom, you see the regulatory score for crypto. And the score of 1 is least bullish, not necessarily good, and 5 being the most bullish. And we're recording this at 11 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday. And we just need to see that we're all the way on the right. So we're either going to have a clear Republican sweep or, we might have one Democratic, House. The Democrats could still take the House, I guess, in theory. So what does that mean? So then you go to the bottom and you see the score, and it's a 4 or 5. And so you can't really, if you're in the crypto space and you're hoping for regulatory clarity, you couldn't have hoped for a better outcome for this election. And really, at the bottom of the barrel, what does this mean? It can only mean one thing, to be quite honest, and that is this.
On day one. Wow. I didn't know he was that unpopular.
So, as you can tell, that is the new 47th president of the United States saying that he will get rid of the sitting SEC chair, Gary Gensler, on day one, who has really been kind of a part of that anti-crypto army that we mentioned from time to time, just throwing out lawsuits left and right. We've covered it here: Coinbase, Robinhood, Uniswap, really just going after a lot of the big players in the space. And, I think that was something that troubled you and I that we discussed when these were, breaking news topics, was like, why are you going after the big guys? All they want to do is work with you to get this thing, have this thing have more clarity. And that's where they focused their time. And they weren't going after, the celebrity shillers and, all the Nancy Pelosi's of the world who, somehow have, $100 million net worth when they make, $150,000 a year. You're going after, the crypto industry. And it seemed like we had a target on our back from the SEC chair. And so, that's going to be the first step, I think, of clarity is that department. It'll be interesting to see who he brings in, but that kind of sums up, our political breakdown for the crypto markets of what happened over the last, 24 hours in this election.
Yeah, 100%, man. And I think with him getting removed here, people have asked the valid question of what's going to happen to all these projects, to all these companies that he has been actively suing and investigating and giving Wells notices to. I mean, let's just go down the lengthy list of companies that have been affected by this. And I don't even have a list in front of me. Maybe you can pull one up, but I'm just going to go off the top of my head. And we have Uniswap, Crypto.com, Coinbase, Kraken, Robinhood, DRW. Right? There's so many players. XRP is another big one. There are so many companies that have been affected by this, especially when it comes to like the traditional crypto market. And now with Gary Gensler getting the boot and likely someone who is significantly more crypto friendly coming in here, I have to imagine that these cases are going to be made a lot easier, that we're going to see a lot less of them moving forward, that regulation should be getting better. And, maybe we even see the majority of these things getting removed. Maybe we see them getting dismissed. I saw that, I think IMX was another player over there. I think I saw something about Aave. We're just...
Kraken.
Yeah, Kraken. I mean, there's so many of them. And with Gary Gensler getting the boot, what we're expecting is just a massive recovery. We're expecting the projects and the companies to be able to put out newer, more advanced products, stuff that we haven't seen before. They're going to have clear regulation. They're probably going to be spending a lot less on legal fees, which is going to allow them to grow more internally and, again, give us a better experience as the customers and the people that are investing in these. And, again, it just gives everyone more clarity. One of the worst things for the crypto markets is FUD, right? Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And because there was so much uncertainty around the topic of regulation, people were fearful. And then they doubted what they can do and what they can't do. And FUD reigned supreme as there was so many legal battles fought in the crypto world. And as we remove uncertainty, we then remove fear and then we remove doubt. And it allows everything to really thrive in a way that we haven't probably seen before in the crypto markets. And now we have all these big players in that want to do stuff. I mean, we've already seen people building funds on Solana. We saw BlackRock, which is the largest asset manager on the planet, over $10 trillion in assets under management. They're already building on Ethereum. And we've seen a lot of companies and countries and pension funds and endowments and all these different things want to look towards Bitcoin as a diversity play. And I think that this is going to become a lot easier for them moving forward. And it's also going to become a lot more just like secure. And they're going to have a lot more peace of mind about it. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just optimistic. I think that there's very few negative things specifically for the crypto markets here. I just don't see a lot of cons.
Couldn't agree more. I think that really it almost seems too perfect, right? Like if you're in the crypto industry and you're really involved in this and wanting it to grow, it's like this is the setup, kind of like the chart I showed you from Fundstrat, where it was, the likely outcome of the House, the Senate, and the White House, what would be the most bullish for you. And we're on most bullish end of the spectrum with either a 4 or 5. So, yeah, I mean, it's what we hoped for, and I think that it's really time to lock in. I think we say that a lot, but I think there's certain times where you really want to buckle down, and I think before the range that we've had since March, I know we were bullish on the sector, right? Go back to a year ago and last winter, and our views were down, right? We could tell, our tweets are down, our videos are down, but then the price pops, and all of a sudden, our views triple and double and quadruple. And so, I think we've talked about that before, where we appreciate the listeners that do check in every week or every other week, because, it's always a roller coaster of up and down. But if you can follow the breadcrumbs, of this crypto trail, it's leading us higher. And it's a great time to get educated, that I mentioned in the middle of the show. That's what we're here for, to give you guys free content. So definitely, I know you're going to wrap it up here and tell people to like, subscribe, comment, but please do, and support us. And, we're here for you, and we enjoy doing it.
Certainly, man. Well, like you said, Tevo, we're stoked. There's a lot of things to be excited about moving forward. The last thing that I just want to briefly bring up, and I'll even throw up a chart for it, is just that the ETF inflows have been just crazy. We had a day the other day, Tevo, where there was almost $1 billion of inflows in a single trading day, which is less than a 24-hour period. I think it was the third largest day of inflows that we have ever seen in these Bitcoin spot ETFs. And I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so we can see this a tad bit better. But as we go and we scroll around to this thing, and I guess maybe actually scroll down, we can see that there was a day over here where there was $917 million in a single day of inflows. And the days prior to that was $887 million, $479 million. And look at this giant gap over here. There's a little bit of inflows on Monday. I would imagine that that is going to be completely wiped out by the subsequent inflows, or excuse me, there's outflows on Monday, but I think that that's going to be wiped out by all the subsequent inflows that we're going to see like Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on. But yeah, I mean, there's just a gap over here where there's no outflows. We're seeing hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars come into the Bitcoin ETFs, get taken out of the supply. Bitcoin is becoming harder to mine. It's becoming more scarce. It's getting taken off of exchanges and other places where it can be actively traded, and it's getting put away into more cold storage options. And what that really means is that it's just becoming more scarce at the end of the day. And I would imagine that the most basic laws of supply and demand kick in. And when something is scarce, becoming more scarce, but increasing in demand, well, that makes it typically appreciate in price. And so that's kind of the way that I'm looking at this moving forward. And I want to leave everyone with one final note, because you made me think of this, Tevo, when you were talking about Gary, and that it looks like Hester Pierce, who has been labeled as the quote-unquote crypto mom, is being seen as the top pick to replace Gary Gensler in the SEC. And if the name crypto mom does not tell you everything that you need to know, she is pro-crypto. And it'd be exciting to really kind of witness what will and what could happen under this. Again, nothing's solidified yet. People are speculating, but when Cointelegraph and some of these other places are talking about this, I saw Altcoin Daily was talking about it, it makes you think, what is the future going to look like? And again, with all the evidence and everything that we've talked about today, I think it's hard to argue that the future of crypto doesn't look bright.
Yeah, and I got a wrap-up point, too. There were a lot of other races that were interesting for crypto. Warren versus John Deaton. John Deaton had a ton of support, came up short. Elizabeth Warren will be back. But I don't know. Again, I'm not a political expert by any means. I did take one credit in college for a minor of political science of some sort. But I believe possibly that she might not be able to be head of the Senate Banking Committee now, which will be something we'll follow and we'll check and bring back to you if that's the case. But over in Ohio was a big crypto race. Bernie Moreno wins the Republican Ohio Senate seat, dethroning Sherrod Brown, who was a part of that anti-crypto army. Bernie, who won, was backed big time by that crypto pack. So that's bullish. And I'll wrap up I'll wrap up with like a little locker room speech, maybe, because I'm just fired up, Brendan. I really am. Like, you're in the right place.
Give it to us, Tevo.
All right, there we go. Maybe I'll put some music in the background of this. Listen, if you've been here over the last year or 2 years and listening to our program, we appreciate you. Congratulations to you. You've earned everything that you've gotten. If you're here and you're new, welcome. You couldn't have joined at a better time. This is an exciting industry. It is the future, and the clarity around these regulations are coming higher. And I challenge anybody who's listening to this, you should just send it to one friend, 2 friends. Send this out and be like, hey, this is a really interesting thing that's going on now that we have clarity around the election. I'm sure there's tons of people who aren't happy politically. We seem to be a divided country, but I think one thing that everybody can agree on is the financial success of you and your family. And so if you're doing anything to educate yourself and bring yourself to more awareness of what's going on in the finance space, the crypto space, and just trying to get yourself more of a worldly view, you are in the right place. And we welcome you here. If you ever have any questions or comments, please leave them. I respond to literally everything. So send this to a friend. I challenge you to start to grow our community, grow your community of your financial knowledge, and we're here for you, and we're going to the moon. I'm telling you, it's blast off. Elon Musk is building us a rocket. We can land it on a penny. We're going back and forth, round trip rocket boosters. We're going to the moon. Thank you.
You know, I feel like I need a rocket ship flying across the screen, an American eagle screeching coming to the screen as well, a flag in the background. I feel like I need it all there, along with just a bunch of Bitcoins and different cryptos scattered. But, you know, all jokes aside, everyone, we really are fired up. And we hope everyone else is as well. When we look at the success that the crypto market had last night, with almost everything being up close to double digits, some things, up even more than that, it's hard to not be excited, right? We're listening to this stuff because we're invested in the crypto space, whether it's Bitcoin or altcoins or maybe companies that are spearheading the crypto market. We're invested in this, and we like to see the success of it. So don't forget to celebrate. Go enjoy yourself out there. Like Tevo said, all your hard work is paying off. And as of today, every single Bitcoin investor in history is in profit, which has not been the case for quite some time now. So go enjoy yourself. Go treat yourself. We think that there is a lot more to still come. We're, of course, going to be covering it. So all that we ask here is that if you like the content that we make, do 2 things. Number 1, hit that like button. Number 2, hit that subscribe button. And I guess a third one to kind of sneak in here, but check us out on everything else. Like Tevo said, we got some really great communities like Crypt Nation that everyone can be a part of. We'll have a link to that in the description down below. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Audible or anything like that, leave us a review. I mean, we love to hear from all of you. And if you're on YouTube, leave us a comment. We love to hear from everyone and see what everyone's up to. But again, we're hoping the best. It's an exciting day for the entire crypto markets. And we're going to see all of you at the same time, same place next week.